The crew bowed their heads. Some trembled. Some looked away. None moved against him. The commander lay broken on the floor, gasping for air. His voice was a whisper, cracked and weak. What? What are you? The human's eyes hardened. Survivor. Silence filled the bridge. Even the alarm seemed distant now. The human turned, walking back toward the doors. His steps echoed with finality. He did not need to fire a shot. He did not need to kill them all. His presence alone was enough. The crew stared after him, knowing the truth in their bones. They had tried to corner a Deathworlder, and they would never forget the mistake. The lesson, the Dominion warship, floated silent in the endless dark. Its engines flickered weakly, its hull scarred and burning. Inside, the crew sat frozen on the ruined bridge, their eyes wide, their weapons lying useless at their feet. Smoke curled in the air, and the stench of fear was stronger than the smell of fire. The human stood tall in the center of the bridge. His presence filled the room, heavy and sharp. He had no army, no great weapons, no fleet behind him. And yet, every alien in that chamber felt the truth in their bones. They had already lost. He looked down at the commander, still lying broken on the floor. The alien leader's claws trembled as he tried to rise, but his strength was gone. His voice cracked. As he whispered, "You could have destroyed us all, why haven't you?" The human's eyes burned steady. His voice was calm, each word slow and deliberate. Because destruction teaches nothing. Survival teaches everything. He turned his gaze across the bridge, meeting the eyes of every officer, every soldier. None could hold his stare. Their black eyes darted away. Their heads bowed. The Dominion, conquerors of worlds, had been humbled by one man. The human spoke again, his voice like iron. "You wanted to corner me. You thought numbers and weapons made you strong. But you forgot the oldest truth of all. Strength is not about power. It is about survival. And a Deathworlder survives." The younger officer, his hands trembling, whispered, "What will you do to us?" The human paused. For a moment, silence stretched like a blade across the room. Then he answered, "Nothing." The crew blinked in confusion. "Nothing," the human continued, his voice colder now. "I will let you live, but you will live with this memory, with this fear, and you will carry it to every corner of your dominion." He stepped closer to the commander, his boots echoing in the silence. He crouched low, his eyes level with the alien's trembling face. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them what you saw when you tried to corner a human. Tell them what a Deathworlder is." The commander's black eyes shook, his pride, his power, his entire belief in Dominion's strength, shattered in that moment. He nodded slowly, almost against his will. The human rose again. His figure seemed larger now, not in size, but in presence, in the weight of what he represented. "You call yourselves conquerors," he said, his voice deep, echoing through the bridge. "But remember this, there are some you should never corner. There are some you should never chase, because when you do, you will find out too late that you were the prey all along." The crew trembled. None dared move. None dared breathe. The human turned and walked to the doors. They hissed open at his approach, as if the ship itself still obeyed him. He paused at the threshold, his final words carrying through the broken bridge. "This is why you never corner a Deathworlder." And then he was gone. The doors closed behind him, leaving only silence. Minutes later, the alien crew felt the ship's systems return, gravity steady, oxygen restored, weapons offline but no longer unstable. The human had released his grip. But it was not mercy they felt, it was worse. He had left them alive so they would remember. The commander struggled to his feet, his body broken, his pride gone. He looked at his crew, at their hollow eyes, their trembling claws, and he understood what the human had done. He had not just won, he had written a lesson into their very souls. Word of the encounter would spread. Through whispers in the Dominion, fleets through frightened soldiers telling frightened children, through officers who could not erase the memory of those eyes. The story would grow, carried across the stars, and in every version, one truth would remain. Never corner a Deathworlder, but a mind sharpened by a world where every breath was a battle, and as the silence deepened, they began to understand the truth. They had not trapped a man, they had trapped a predator. The breaking point, the Dominion warship screamed as if it were alive and in pain. Fires burned in the lower decks, gravity shifted in waves, and the oxygen levels dropped in broken compartments. Panic spread like a disease. Soldiers shouted through comms, begging for orders, begging for air. On the bridge, the commander's claws dug into the arm of his chair. His once proud voice was now hoarse from shouting. His crew no longer obeyed with certainty. They obeyed with fear. Fear not of him, but of the calm human whose hologram still stood at the center of the chaos. The human's face remained steady. His eyes burned like coals in the red light of the alarms. He had not raised a weapon, not moved an inch. And yet, the Dominion's greatest warship was tearing itself apart. The commander could not take it anymore. Pride and rage consumed him. He bared his sharp teeth and roared, "Enough! If he wishes to play with our systems, then we will end this now." He turned to his officers. "Charge the main plasma cannon, direct it at his vessel. I will burn him from the stars." The crew hesitated. They had seen what happened to the docking teams. They had seen what happened to their comrades in the sealed decks. But the commander's fury was too great. His voice thundered across the bridge. "Do it." Reluctantly, the officers obeyed. Power drained from the ship's core, flowing into the massive cannon at the bow. The air hummed with dangerous energy. Blue lightning crackled along the walls as the cannon prepared to fire. The human hologram watched silently. His eyes flickered, his head tilting as though he had already calculated the outcome. The commander sneered. "You may control our doors, our gravity, our air, but you cannot stop this. One shot and your fragile ship will be dust." The human finally spoke, his voice low, calm, cutting through the storm of sound. "On my world, we learned something. Very simple. The environment is always a weapon. The storm, the fire, the beast. It never strikes without weakness." The commander laughed, though it sounded hollow. "What weakness could you possibly see in this?" The plasma cannon roared to life, its glow so bright the bridge filled with blue light. The crew shielded their eyes. The commander's heart pounded. Finally, he would silence the human. But then, the hum changed. The glow shifted. Instead of aiming outward, the energy turned inward. Power bled into the wrong systems. Control panels sparked violently. Officers screamed as their consoles exploded. The commander's eyes widened in horror. "No! No, this is impossible." The cannon fired, but it did not fire into space. It fired into the ship itself. The blast tore through Deck 7, ripping apart bulkheads, sending fireballs racing through the corridors. Hundreds of Dominion soldiers were incinerated in a heartbeat. The warship rocked violently, alarms shrieking louder than ever before. The crew on the bridge fell to the floor as the ship shook. The commander's body slammed against the railing, pain lancing through his side. He looked up, blood dripping from his mouth, and saw the human hologram still standing calm, untouched. "You never learned," the human said, his voice almost sorrowful. "Every weapon has a weakness, even yours." The younger officer gasped, clutching at his console with trembling hands. He turned our own cannon against us." The commander roared, his voice raw with desperation. "Fight back! Fight him! Cut his link! Cut anything!" But the bridge crew no longer moved with certainty. They looked at their commander with doubt, with fear. Their pride was gone. Their belief in their own strength was gone. The human had taken it from them. One of the officers whispered, "We should retreat before he kills us all." The commander whirled on him, his eyes blazing. "Coward! We are the Dominion. We do not retreat." But his words fell empty in the silence that followed. Even he knew they were lies now. The human leaned closer, his face filling the central display. His eyes locked on the commander, steady and merciless. You thought your numbers, your ships, your weapons made you strong. But strength is not power. Power is survival, and survival is mine. The commander tried to snarl, to speak, but no words came. His throat was dry. His pride was shattered. The human's voice dropped to a whisper. This is your breaking point. The ship shuddered again, explosions rolling like thunder through its decks. Smoke rose from burning panels. Sparks rained across the bridge. The Dominion warship, once a symbol of fear, now trembled like a dying beast. And the alien crew knew the truth. The human had not just broken their systems, he had broken their will. The final stand. The Dominion warship drifted in the dark like a wounded beast. Its hull was scarred by its own weapons. Smoke poured from broken decks and the cries of soldiers echoed through shattered corridors. The once mighty vessel, feared across the stars, now felt like a tomb. On the bridge, the crew sat in silence. Their claws trembled, their black eyes wide with fear. Sparks fell from broken panels, and the air was thick with smoke and the sharp sting of burned metal. None dared look at their commander. None dared look at one another. They all stared at the hologram. The human was still there, calm and steady. His face flickered in the red glow of the alarms. His voice, when it came, was low and even, but carried more weight than any weapon. Your ship is finished. Your pride is broken. But I am not here to destroy you. Not yet. The commander forced himself up from the floor, clutching the railing, with shaking claws. His once proud voice was now cracked and thin. You cannot hold us forever. You are only one man. The human's eyes narrowed. His lips curved into the faintest smile. One man is enough. And then, for the first time, the hologram vanished. The bridge crew gasped. They looked around in panic, as if the sudden emptiness was worse than his presence. The doors to the bridge hissed. Slowly they slid open, and he walked in. Not a hologram. Not a ghost. A man of flesh and blood. His boots echoed against the steel floor, steady, unhurried. He wore a simple suit, scarred, patched, and functional, not elegant like Dominion armor. His face was calm, his eyes sharp and alive. The crew froze. Their weapons hung at their sides, but none dared lift them. There was something in the way he moved, something in the weight of his silence. It was not the walk of prey. It was the walk of a predator who had already won. The commander staggered forward, rage burning through his fear. "Kill him!" he roared. The soldiers raised their weapons, then stopped. Their hands shook, their claws trembled on the triggers. The human's eyes passed over them, steady, cold. One by one, their arms lowered. They had faced armies, rebellions, monsters from forgotten worlds. But they had never felt this before. This was not just fear. This was instinct, primal and ancient. The instinct that told them they were standing before something dangerous, something that should never be cornered. The commander roared again, spittle flying from his sharp teeth. "Do it! Fire!" But no one moved. The human kept walking, step by step, closer and closer, until he stood in the center of the bridge. The alarms wailed, the ship groaned, but none of it mattered. The room belonged to him now. The commander's pride shattered into desperation. With a roar, he lunged forward, his claws extended, aiming for the human's throat. But the man moved like lightning. He sidestepped, caught the commander's wrist, and twisted. In a single motion, the mighty alien was slammed against the floor. The impact cracked the steel beneath him. His roar turned into a scream of pain. The crew froze, staring in horror. Their commander, the most feared warrior among them, was broken with a single move. The human knelt beside him, his voice calm, almost quiet. "On Earth, even our predators learned that speed matters more than size. You are strong, but strength without control is nothing." The commander's black eyes widened with terror. He had never felt powerless before. Now he was staring into the eyes of a predator who had lived with danger since birth. The human released him and stood tall. He looked around the bridge, his gaze moving over every officer, every soldier. No one dared meet his eyes. Their weapons lay at their feet. Their courage was gone. The human spoke, his words steady and clear. "This is why you never corner a Deathworlder. We do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for glory. We fight because losing means death. And when death is the cost, we do not lose." The trap turns. The Dominion ship groaned as if something alive had crawled into its heart. The lights flickered again, dimming until the bridge was bathed in deep red. Alien officers shouted over one another, their claws flying across the glowing panels. But nothing worked. Their systems ignored them, as if the ship no longer belonged to them. The human's hologram stood silently in the center, watching. His calm face reflected the chaos, his steady eyes following every desperate movement. He didn't need to shout or threaten. His silence was louder than their panic. "Report!" the commander roared. His voice cracked with frustration. One officer stammered, "Docking clamps are offline, controls are frozen. I cannot access the core functions." Another officer shouted, "Life support on Deck 10 is dropping fast, oxygen leak." And another, "Weapons grid is unresponsive. It is locked in standby. We cannot fire." The commander's throat tightened. He turned toward the hologram, his black eyes burning. "What have you done, human?" The man tilted his head slightly, his expression calm. "Nothing. Your own pride didn't invite." His voice was low, steady, cutting through the bridge like steel. "You opened the door. I only walked through it." The alien crew froze. He was right. When they had extended the docking clamps to drag him in, their systems had touched his. That single connection was enough for him to slip into the veins of their warship. The commander hissed, forcing his soldiers forward. "Board his ship now. Kill him before—" But the order was cut short. With a hiss of pressure, the doors to the docking bay sealed themselves shut. Massive bulkheads locked into place. A second later, the air began to drain from the bay. Soldiers inside scrambled, slamming their fists against sealed doors, their helmets fogging from their frantic breaths. The bridge crew stared in shock as the monitors displayed their comrades clawing for life. The human hologram remained still, his eyes watching without blinking. "You wanted to corner me," he said softly. "Now feel what it means to be the ones cornered." The commander slammed his claws into the console. "Enough. You cannot run forever. This ship will crush you." The human's calm broke for the first time, but not into fear, into something sharper. His lips curved into a thin smile and his eyes narrowed like a blade being drawn. "Do you think I'm running?" he asked. "No. I am hunting." The bridge fell silent. That single word, hunting, made their blood run cold. Suddenly, the gravity shifted again. Officers floated helplessly into the air as if invisible hands pulled them upward. Papers, tools, and weapons drifted around them. One slammed against the ceiling, another spun helplessly, trying to grip anything solid. Alarms wailed as systems screamed overload. Then gravity crashed back down harder than before. Officers slammed to the floor with painful cracks. Some struggled to rise, gasping. The commander staggered but forced himself up, glaring at the human's image. You are nothing more than one man. You cannot hold this ship forever." The human's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "On Earth, we learned to survive against storms, beasts, and a planet that hates us. Do you really think your ship frightens me?" The commander growled, but even he felt the pressure now. His own soldiers glanced at him with fear in their eyes, fear not of him, but of the calm human who had turned their strongest warship into a trap. The younger officer, his voice shaking, finally spoke the truth that the rest dared not. "Commander, he doesn't need weapons. He is using our own ship to destroy us." The human's eyes flickered toward him. For a brief second, the officer felt those eyes pierce straight into his soul. They weren't the eyes of prey. They were the eyes of something older, sharper. The eyes of a predator waiting for the final strike. The commander raised his arm and barked into comms. "Activate countermeasures. Lock him out of our systems now." But the screens flickered, and the human's face filled every panel, every monitor, every glowing surface on the bridge. His voice echoed, surrounding them from all sides. "You don't understand. It's too late to fight me inside your systems. You are already inside mine." The commander's blood froze. The ship shuddered violently. Explosions rocked through the lower decks. Reports screamed through the comms. Reactors overheating, oxygen failing, weapons misfiring. The warship, once a fortress of power, had become a cage of terror, and at the center of it all, the human stood calm, watching like a hunter who had already chosen the moment to strike. He leaned closer through the hologram, his voice deep and steady. "You thought you trapped me, but every second I was trapping you." The crew stared in silence, hearts pounding, breaths shallow. Even the commander could not hide the fear trembling through his claws. They had cornered a Deathworlder, and now, they understood, the real trap was theirs. The Deathworlder's mind, the Dominion warship, had become a coffin of steel. Lights dimmed to red, gravity trembled, and alarms howled through every deck. Soldiers ran in panic, their boots echoing in the endless corridors, but no safe place could be found. The ship itself was no longer theirs. On the bridge, the alien, commander's black eyes darted between failing monitors. His claws clicked against the console, desperate for control. But every command returned the same answer. Access denied, and in the center of the chaos, the human hologram stood calm. He had not moved an inch, yet everything bent to his will. His eyes, cold and sharp, followed them like a hunter stalking prey. "Your ship," the human said, his voice steady, "is a fortress. But fortresses have walls, and walls can be turned into cages." The crew shivered. His tone was not cruel, not mocking. It was worse, it was calm, logical, as though he were teaching them a lesson they were too weak to understand. The commander slammed his fist on the console. "You cannot hold this ship forever. We are the Dominion. We are not prey." The human tilted his head. "Prey doesn't get to decide what it is." Before the commander could respond, the gravity shifted again. This time, it did not fail completely. It pulsed. 1 second heavy, pressing them down until their knees cracked. The next light, leaving them gasping in weightless air. The crew screamed as their bodies were thrown up and down, tossed like toys. Weapons clattered away, spinning into the walls. The younger officer gripped the edge of his station, his voice cracking with terror. He is controlling our gravity field like a child playing with bones." The commander snarled, but sweat dripped down his armored neck. He tried to hold steady, but even he felt the weight pressing on his chest like a giant hand. His breaths came hard, shallow, broken, and then, without warning, the entire bridge fell silent. The alarms cut off. The lights dimmed until the only glow came from the hologram of the human. His face flickered in the shadows, his eyes glowing faintly with the reflection of power. "On Earth," he said slowly, "we learned to survive storms that could tear mountains apart. We learned to fight beasts that could swallow us whole. Survival was not strength, it was patience, observation, mind over fear." His voice was quiet, but it filled every corner of the bridge. No one dared speak. No one even dared breathe. He continued, his words deliberate, each one sinking deeper. "You think survival is about weapons, firepower, numbers, but a Deathworlder knows better. Survival begins here." He tapped his temple slowly. "In the mind." The crew felt their hearts squeeze at his words. It was not just a threat. It was a truth. Suddenly, the ship's screens lit up again, but instead of tactical data, they showed images. Not from Earth this time, but from inside their own vessel. Hallways flickering with sparks, soldiers gasping in the vacuum of failed decks. Entire squads floating helplessly as gravity betrayed them. The crew stared at their own destruction unfolding in real time. "You thought this ship was your weapon," the human said. "But it is mine now, and I do not need to kill you to win. Fear will do it for me." The younger officer whispered, almost to himself. He's breaking us without firing a shot." The commander's pride burned like acid. But even he could not deny the truth. His crew was falling apart. Their weapons useless, their order broken, their courage crumbling, and the human hadn't even raised a hand. The hologram's eyes locked onto the commander. This is why you never corner a Deathworlder. We don't fight to win. We fight because losing means death, and when death is the price, we do not lose. The commander tried to roar, to rally his crew, but his voice cracked. The sound was thin, hollow, drowned by the silence that followed. His crew no longer looked to him. They looked to the human, their faces pale with the realization that the predator was not on their side. Then the hologram leaned closer, his voice almost a whisper. You call yourselves conquerors, but out here, in this cold dark, you are nothing more than children playing with fire, and fire does not care who it burns. The lights flickered once more. Then the alarm screamed louder than ever. Commander! Another officer cried out. Deck 9 is collapsing. Hull breach. We've lost over 200. The commander froze, his claws trembling. 200 soldiers, gone in seconds, without a single shot fired from the human side. The human's hologram did not smile. He only stared, calm and cold. Your ship is falling apart, piece by piece. You still think you are the hunters? Look again. You are the ones in the trap. The bridge filled with silence once more. No one argued. No one dared. For the first time in their long history, the Dominion crew realized what it truly meant to face a Deathworlder, not a warrior of brute strength, not a monster of size. The silent tension, the alien warship drifted like a predator through the cold dark of space. Its hull stretched for miles, covered in glowing blue lines of power. Inside the command bridge, tall figures with smooth metallic armor and long heads stood in silence. Their black eyes stared at the hologram in front of them, the image of a human man. The human's face was calm, almost too calm. His eyes were sharp, steady, and without fear. That alone unsettled the alien crew. Most species trembled when faced with the Ver Dominion, the most feared navy in the quadrant. But this human? He looked as if he was waiting for them. The alien. Commander stepped forward. His skin shimmered like oil under the light, and his long fingers tapped against his armor. You are surrounded, human. Your vessel is weak, your weapons useless. You cannot escape. Surrender, and perhaps I will make your end quick. The human did not blink. His lips curved into the smallest smile. His voice was low, steady, and carried through the bridge like a whisper of ice. You really don't want to corner a Deathworlder. The alien crew laughed, though their laughter was uneasy. The word Deathworlder was something they had, heard in whispers, in old stories shared by smugglers and mercenaries. It was a name for humans, a species from a world so violent, so dangerous, that every day was a fight for survival. The Dominion had never faced one directly in battle, until now. The commander narrowed his eyes. Bold words for a fragile creature. He leaned closer to the hologram. Do you think you frighten us? The human's eyes flickered. Not anger, not fear, just focus, cold and sharp. He looked like a man who had already measured every corner of the alien ship and found its weakness. Behind him, his small vessel floated in space, a speck compared to the giant alien warship. The Dominion officers scanned it again, confirming what their commander said. No real weapons, no escorts, no allies, just one fragile ship, one fragile man. But the silence on the human's face made their claws twitch. Something was wrong. The commander straightened. Seal the perimeter. Prepare boarding teams. Bring him in. Orders echoed through the bridge. Alien soldiers in heavy suits moved to their stations. Docking clamps extended like sharp claws toward the lone human vessel. Inside the bridge, the crew felt a rising heat of pride. They would crush this human quickly. But the human did not beg. He did not move. He simply spoke once more, his voice cutting through the alarms. You think you've trapped me, but you've trapped yourselves. The bridge grew still. The words hung in the air like a shadow. One of the younger officers shifted uncomfortably. Commander, perhaps we should— Silence, the commander snapped. His pride was burning. He could not allow a human to shake their discipline. He is nothing, a primitive creature. Break his ship apart. But deep inside, even the commander felt it, the strange weight pressing against the air. The human's calm was not normal. It was the calm of someone who knew exactly what was coming. The alien ship's lights flickered, only for a second, but enough to freeze the crew. Systems that had always been perfect now stuttered, as if something unseen had slipped inside. The commander bared his teeth. Report. Minor fluctuation, sir, one officer replied. His hands tapped on glowing controls, but his voice shook. It should not happen. Not here. The human tilted his head, watching them as if reading their fear. On my world, he said softly, fear is the first mistake, and you've already made it. The bridge fell into silence again. The crew stared at him, unsettled yet unwilling to admit it. Outside the viewing glass, the cold stars burned bright. The human ship, tiny and fragile, still drifted calmly. The commander forced a smile, though it looked more like a snarl. Enough. Begin the boarding operation. We will see how long your confidence lasts. The alien soldiers prepared. Metal boots clanged against the floor as they lined up in rows, their helmets sealed with a hiss, weapons charged. They moved with the precision of conquerors, but as the clamps reached for the human's ship, something unexpected happened. The clamps froze, systems locked, warning lights flashed across the Dominion bridge. The human's calm face never changed. He leaned slightly closer to the hologram, and his eyes glowed with the reflection of red alarms. You cornered a Deathworlder, he said again, voice steady, each word heavy as iron. Now you will learn why that was a mistake. The bridge fell silent. No one dared move. For the first time in many years, the Dominion crew felt something burn in their chest, something they had almost forgotten. Fear. And the story of the Deathworlder had only just begun. The Predators, eyes the Dominion warship trembled with warning alarms. Red lights washed over the bridge, painting the alien officers in a nervous glow. Their claws moved quickly across the control panels, trying to reset the docking clamps, but nothing responded. The human hologram still stood in the center of the room. His face was calm, his eyes sharp, like a predator who had already chosen his prey. Systems are locked, Commander, one officer shouted, his voice shaking. I don't understand, our override is not working. The commander snarled. It's a trick. He cannot control a ship like this. He's bluffing. But the human tilted his head just slightly and spoke. His voice was low, almost like he was telling them a story. On Earth, every shadow hides something waiting to kill you. The oceans drown you. The storms tear you apart. The animals hunt you. We learn to survive not by being the strongest, but by watching, waiting, striking at the right moment. His eyes narrowed, and the crew felt a chill run through their skin. The way he looked at them, it wasn't the stare of prey. It was the stare of a hunter. The commander slammed a clawed hand on the console. Enough of this. He turned to his soldiers. Board his vessel. Kill him. But before the soldiers could move, the floor shook. Gravity systems flickered. For a second, the crew felt their bodies lift from the ground, floating helplessly. They scrambled to hold onto rails as warning sirens screamed through the ship. Then gravity slammed back down, sending some to their knees. The human did not move. His hologram remained steady, as if the chaos meant nothing. The younger officer, the one who had already felt uneasy, spoke with a trembling voice. Commander, he is inside our systems. He is using the ship against us. The commander growled, but deep inside, a knot of fear twisted in his chest. How was a lone human doing this? The hologram leaned forward. His face filled the bridge, his eyes locking with each alien one by one. You think of humans as weak, he said, but you never looked closely. You never saw what survival does to a mind. His words pulled them into silence. And in that silence, the crew began to remember the old stories. Rumors carried through, trade routes, about miners who worked under toxic skies, Soldiers who fought in endless wars. Explorers who thrived in frozen wastelands. About humans. Deathworlders. The commander shook his head violently. They are myths. Nothing more. But his own voice sounded hollow now. The human's image flickered for a moment. Not from weakness, but as if he wanted to remind them that he was not just a face on a screen, he was real, alive and inside their ship. Then the lights dimmed. The bridge screens shifted, showing images not from their ship but from the human's world. The alien crew gasped. Storms that swallowed cities, forests filled with monsters with teeth longer than a soldier's arm, volcanoes raining fire. Ice, fields stretching forever where even breathing could kill you. Earth. The holograms faded, but the images were burned into their minds. The aliens stood frozen. Even their war-trained hearts trembled. The human spoke softly, his voice almost a whisper. That is my home. That is where I learned to live. You cornered someone from that world and you still think you can win? The bridge was quiet, except for the faint hum of failing systems. Every officer felt it now. The human wasn't bluffing. He was something else, something dangerous. The commander tried to steady himself. His pride would not allow him to back down. We are the Dominion. We have crushed empires. One human cannot. The ship jolted violently, cutting him off. Sparks burst from a control panel. Soldiers stumbled as gravity cut in and out again. Commander. An officer screamed. Deck 12 has lost power. Life support is failing. Impossible, the commander barked. How is he doing this? The hologram smiled, just slightly. It was the smile of a predator before the kill. You gave me access when you tried to drag me in. Your systems touched mine. And that was enough. The aliens froze. The human's voice dropped lower, colder. You thought my ship was weak, but weakness is a mask. Deathworlders learned long ago, never show your real teeth until it's too late. The words hit them like a blade. The younger officer whispered in terror. He's not fighting us with weapons. He's fighting us with his mind. The commander slammed his fist down. I will not fear a primitive. But his words shook. Sweat dripped down his neck plates. The human's hologram flickered again, his eyes glowing brighter with the reflection of alarms. Fear is already here, he said, and it will only get worse. The bridge fell silent. The crew stared at him, unable to look away. For the first time in their long careers, they felt truly hunted. The predator's eyes had found them, and they knew this was only the beginning.